So, we are here in Red Dead Redemption 1 on PlayStation 5. Obviously, it is a PlayStation 4 version, but on PS5. And it's been about 3 weeks now since the release of Red Dead Redemption 1 on both PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. And in this video, we're going to be talking about this 3 weeks later, how it's holding up 3 weeks later. Just before I continue with this video, I do just want to talk about today's sponsor, Instant Gaming. On Instant Gaming, you can get fantastically cheap prices for games, such as every single Rockstar game. So if you are interested in picking up some of Rockstar's amazing games for insanely cheap prices, like the Red Dead Redemption 2 Ultimate Edition for under £20, then be sure to use Instant Gaming with the link in the description to be able to get yourself some insanely good prices across PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. So yeah, if you're looking for some really good prices on some really good games, then there is no better place than Instant Gaming. Now, there hasn't really been any patch updates, any news from Rockstar regarding this. You wouldn't really expect there to be much, of course, since, well, it's a completely single-player game, since they unfortunately and disappointingly removed the online portion of the game for this port over to PlayStation 4 and the Switch. Now, obviously for the Switch, I suppose that's more understandable, but to have an online version on Nintendo Switch would have been so cool, in my opinion. Just the idea of being able to play a Red Dead game online with other people, very similar to Red Dead Online on the Nintendo Switch, that would have been awesome. I think if the old Red Dead Online, the original Red Dead Online, Red Dead Redemption Online I should call it, did go onto Nintendo Switch, I think I would have spent so many hours on that, since I really enjoyed the original Online. I found it really fun, and in a lot of ways it was better than Red Dead Online. There were some things that aren't in the new Red Dead Online, and to have that old version on the Switch, and the port for the single player has been outstanding on Switch. I already did a whole review on that, I'll link it in the description below. But yeah, the port over to Nintendo Switch was really impressive. There were so many impressive things about it. It runs so well, the frame rate is absolutely butter smooth, the resolution is 1080p when in docs mode, and it's just outstanding. It works really well, and it was actually, you know, there were some videos I saw that there was actually room for 60 frames per second if they wanted. That just shows how well optimized the game was on Nintendo Switch, so no complaints there. But yeah, it would have been so cool to see the online over there. I just wanted to talk about that, just thinking, you know, imagine if we genuinely had got Red Dead Redemption Online on Nintendo Switch. That would have been so cool. But even just see it on PlayStation 4, I feel like they could have done that as well. But I suppose, you know, the active Red Dead Online is, of course, well, it's not, you know, not active in Rockstar's view, really, since, you know, they don't update the game anymore. But the one that's actually somewhat, you know, I say supported in quotation marks, since it's not really, is, of course, Red Dead Online on Red Dead Redemption 2. But yeah, I just want to say, it would have been so cool if we had seen the original Red Dead Redemption Online on the new version of the game. That would have been awesome, but unfortunately that's not the case. But if you're on Xbox, of course, you can do that, since the Xbox Series X and S, you can get basically this exact version of Red Dead Redemption, but you can get it for a cheaper price, and you can also get the online as well, since they didn't actually port it over officially. You can just play it through backwards compatibility, the 360 version, and it does run at a high resolution at 30 frames per second. So yeah, if you're on Xbox, you get the best of both worlds. But yeah, so how is it holding up 3 weeks later after its release? Now, of course, yeah, like I said, there's not really been anything from Rockstar on this. They just obviously, you know, spoke about it a bit on launch day. But because there hasn't really been a need to. The game, other than being 30 frames and not actually being fully supported on PlayStation 5, it runs well, it plays well. If you're on PlayStation 4, this is going to feel great, in my opinion. And I don't really have, in terms of, you know, a PlayStation 4 perspective, I don't really have any complaints other than there being no online. I think it's cool. It's a good port for PlayStation 4 and Switch. And yeah, the game's not really got bugs as such. There's a couple things here and there, but generally speaking, in terms of bugs, there aren't really any issues. So there's not really been a need for a patch update. Obviously, when we get some next-gen upgrades like the Witcher 3 next-gen update, for example, there were many issues with that. So there were many patch updates for, even though it was a single-player game. But it's not really had, you know, there's not been a need for any on this version. I don't know if we really will get any, to be honest, at all in the future, since there's not really yet. There's no need for any sort of patch update for the game. Of course, a 60 FPS patch for PS5, I mean, that would have been, you know, absolutely outstanding. Then it really would have been pretty much perfect. But yeah, it's just disappointing, really, that there hasn't been, you know, a proper PS5 version. That was my main disappointment. That and the price point. I just think, yeah, even if we just got 60 frames per second on PS5 and then we just had a cheaper price, then I think I wouldn't have really complained that much. Obviously, an actual remaster would have been nice, of course, but if we got 60 frames per second on PS5 and the price had been no higher than about £35 or $35, then I would have been alright with that, to be honest. I think that wouldn't have been too bad, but yeah, unfortunately, we do have the PS4 version of the game for £50 or $50, which is a high price, so that's disappointing to see. And yeah, it's hard to justify it for the high price, but when we do get the physical release on the 13th of October, then I can see a reason to pick up the game, since when it is, does get the physical release, it's going to be cheaper. It will go down in price significantly. People will resell the game when they finish it, and you'll be able to get a used copy of it physically. So not only are you getting a physical version of the game, you're getting a cool disc, you're also getting the game at what will be a cheaper price. And hopefully by October sort of time, when we get to Black Friday and stuff, we'll start to see discounts on the game digitally as well. And when you can get a discount on this game, I do think it's good. Once you get used to that 30 frames per second, it's not bad at all. Like, I've been playing through the game on PlayStation 5. I've gotten used to those 30 frames, and I've been enjoying it. I have been enjoying it. I have liked the experience, but it would have been much nicer, and I mean much nicer, with 60 frames, a bit of haptic feedback, and, just support for the DualSense controller as well. That would have been awesome, but unfortunately, we just didn't get that. But yeah, I mean, 3 weeks later is no different to when it launched, basically. It's the exact same thing. There's been no changes to the game. So, if you picked it up on day one and you haven't played it yet, then it's not going to feel any different to what it did on day one. There's no point in waiting for anything. The only thing you should really wait for is a discount on the game, since, yeah, at the moment, it just is that bit too much, in my opinion. But, yeah, at the end of the day, this is Red Dead Redemption 1, and this is the game. You're actually just getting... You basically are just getting the original Red Dead Redemption. If you want to be able to play, have that sort of original feel, then I guess it is perfect in that sense, since you're getting this sort of original feeling with the lower frame rate, I guess, and for obviously just being able to play it on a newer console. But yeah, obviously the game's already available on Xbox. If you have an Xbox Series S or X, then I would just say play it on there. It makes sense. It's cheaper. You're getting more for your money. And yeah, I've just accidentally used all the stamina on my poor horse. But yeah, I would say, like I've said in the other videos I've done, if you've got an Xbox, that is the best way to play it still, 100%. But then obviously, if you've got a PlayStation 4 and you've got a Nintendo Switch, then the port on those consoles is great. At the end of the day, on PlayStation 4, I wouldn't have expected it. Even if it had been a remaster, I wasn't expecting it to release on PS4. So, it's nice for those PS4 players, and it's really nice for those Switch players, since this is absolutely outstanding on Nintendo Switch. But I have done a whole Red Dead Redemption 1 on PS5 and a separate Red Dead Redemption 1 on Nintendo Switch reviews. I'll link both those videos in the comments below. And yeah, so I mean, there's not... In terms of the game itself, obviously Red Dead Redemption is an outstanding game. The game is brilliant. You haven't played it yet, I 100% suggest that playing this game is absolutely outstanding. The story is amazing and the gameplay is good. Obviously, yeah, best way to play the game is, of course, on Xbox. And it's disappointing there was no release on PC. Maybe one day, but it just starts to look more and more unlikely the further down the line we get. So, yeah, PC release, obviously, that really would have been outstanding. I would have loved that, and that's how I would have played the game, since I do tend to play most things on PC. But, yeah, it is what it is. At the end of the day, this is what we got. And, obviously, people were disappointed, and they have a right to be disappointed, especially with the price point. I think that's, for me... It wouldn't have been as bad if the price had been lower, but to have that really high price point and then just to not really change much, then it's disappointing. But the actual developers themselves, I have to give, I have to really, I'm impressed with them. I think this is genuinely really good. I have to give credit to them, since at the end of the day, they don't decide what they do, they just got told what to do. And this is absolutely standard. They've done an outstanding job of porting this game over. On PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch is brilliant. And obviously on PlayStation 5 it's also good. You do get a good resolution, but you just don't get what the PS5 is capable of. It's capable of much more than what you're playing at. So you just feel like, you sort of just capped, really, which is disappointing. But at the end of the day, it's Red Dead Redemption 1. The actual game itself, I have no complaints. And 3 weeks after release, it's just as good, or just as bad as it was when it did release. But yeah, the game itself, it is good. There's no bugs. There's nothing like that. If you want to play Red Dead Redemption, you can play Red Dead Redemption easily in 2023. So I did just want to do this video talking about how it's holding up 3 weeks after release. And to put it simply, it's holding up well. But obviously, yeah, there's a few things that are disappointing, but a few things that are good as well. And that does just about wrap up things here. Now, on screen, you are seeing a link to a different video. Hit the link on screen if you are interested in watching it.